Hello there. My name is Dave Bila. I want to welcome you to this new edition of News and Views, broadcast by Access LaPorte County on Public Access TV Channel 99. We are a weekly public opinion program addressing local, state, and national topics and issues of interest to the Michigan City and surrounding areas. Opinions are the views and the responsibilities of making the comments and do not necessarily reflect or represent the views of this program or its co-producers. We will adhere to broadcast rules, but absolutely no one's First Amendment rights of freedom of speech or freedom of the press will be either muzzled nor denied. Any unauthorized use of the accounts, descriptions, and events of this program without the express written consent of the three amigos is strictly prohibited. We hope you enjoy the program, the discussion, and the participants. Ladies and gentlemen, I worked feverishly on this program for today to only find out that the schools are closed. One of the major guests is in a hospital, and no one is going to show up. This pertains to the Michigan City High School musical program that we're going to bring forth in the future. My major concern is when I did my research, I found that the membership of the Michigan City High School Band, now this does not include the choral groups, the female choral groups and the men's choral groups, just the membership of Barker, Krieger, and Michigan City High School Band consists of over 300 kids. Okay?
That's great.
300 kids in a span of roughly, they started slow and they're slowly building up. But guess what, ladies and gentlemen? Do you know how many instructors they have for those 300 kids? 2. 3.
Oh, 3.
One for Barker, one for Krieger, and one for Michigan City High School.
Wow.
One of the pillars in order to emphasize a growing program is to have parent and community support and involvement. There are 7 pillars to a good program, but I think the most important thing is, since we have over 300 kids basically participating in the band program, this includes marching band and color guard, we should have more active participation, maybe not necessarily on the paying end of it, but maybe on the volunteer end of it. And maybe if more parents who are band inclined to a band participation might want to come out and maybe volunteer a day or two to work with the marching band or to work with different activities that the Michigan City Municipal Band has on its schedule. Since the consolidation of Elston and Rogers, the program has been on an upswing. What we had was one program at Elston and one program at Rogers, and neither the tween met with one another. Now we're all under one umbrella. There's a lot going on there, ladies and gentlemen. And again, this is a short little plug for the Michigan City Musical Department, including choir, as to participating in this event. We've been supporting music for 12, 13 years with the Hoosier Star, with the LaPorte Symphony, with Jeff Dobler with Valparaiso University, the Impressionable Minds at the elementary school level. Again, it's an opportunity for these kids to get around other kids under a common denominator, and that's music. Gentlemen?
Well, let me start, because the first thing I want to do is point out the program that's available, the 2025 Visitor's Guide for Michigan City and LaPorte. It's got a lot of information in it. Right now the temperature outside is about 85. It's a beautiful day to get out and do something. Take a walk around the park, take a walk around the zoo, go eat in one of our great restaurants here, either on the north side of Franklin Street, going north from 11th Street, or going south, especially south on 20. A significant number of franchise outlets. Depending on your taste in food, you can get whatever you want. It's a fantastic situation.
I think Garwood's is open now.
It might be, but we can find that out just by looking in air. that's got the listing of everybody that's open. Now, in terms of what Dave was talking about, when I was in school, we had a fantastic band program, music program also. And we only had 2 people that ran it.
Really?
Yeah, our superintendent of the schools, M.L. Knapp, you know how many administrators he had? He had a secretary. That was it. It's amazing how well we did with so few people. Palmer Myron, who many will remember, was fantastic. He had the high school band. And Fred Weber, who was also fantastic, he had the junior high school, and he had, I'm going to tell you, about 10 grade schools. 5th and 6th grade at the grade schools, 7th and the 8th grade at the junior high school. It was amazing, the kinds of programs they put out.
But that was with Elston as the only one.
That was with Elston.
Under one. And now we have a combined school system, and this program can only go up.
Well, I agree. But if you have students who are really enthused about the program and who really like it, it's amazing what you can do just by providing them a certain amount of leadership and then going out and doing it on their own. We had many students come out of here that turned out to be professionals in that area, made their living off of it. But you have to start with students who are really enthused about the program. Fred Weber was very good about getting those students enthused about it, and Palmer Myron was also very good in terms of channeling them into the various areas they wanted to go. A lot of them went into dance bands. Some of them went into polka bands. I recall the guy who sat beside me when I played a clarinet. That was his whole thing in life. He wanted to be in a polka band and play a clarinet, and he achieved that.
One of the interesting things, the Indiana State School Music Association, that's a statewide organization that rules on the various programs. And Michigan City, for the first time in 20 years, has now been included in the statewide School Music Association program because of the numerous gold medals with distinction that they have won. So again, the guy's name is Frank Gast. He's at the high school. Jason Smith is at Barker, and Katie Martin is at Krieger. And those guys are, again, it gives me goosebumps when music, again, turns everybody on.
I know, but one thing that you didn't show in there, what are we doing about the 5th and 6th grades?
They do have an instructional program. I checked on that as well. But it's not. It's just. It's more of a verbal. It's not instrument instruction. It's just trying to get the kids interested. So yes, that's at the elementary level.
Okay. Now I'm really going to change the subject around, because you cannot come in here, talk about what's going to happen in Michigan City, the surrounding areas, without looking at what President Trump has managed to do in terms of the Middle East. On a very wide overall gross basis, you can think of 2 phrases that you can see outside most presidential situations when they talk about how well they've done. One of them goes back to Teddy Roosevelt and his idea of speak softly and carry a big stick. And it's just a 3-word phrase: peace through strength. Some of the people in the Trump administration certainly go along with that. They've emphasized that, but they now have a phrase that goes with that: peace through commerce. We have just signed the largest single contract for aircraft. Now, this is commercial aircraft, not a military aircraft. 160 planes from Qatar that we will be building probably with Boeing over the next 5, 6, 10 years. There will be a lot of component parts to that. Those component parts are going to be manufactured by many, many companies. Michigan City, LaPorte County has to get into this and figure out what the heck they're going to do. And I started out some time ago doing a little bit of research, and I happen to think that one of the metals for the future, and Donald Trump has talked about this, is aluminum, because it's lightweight, but yet it can do a lot of the same things that steel can do, which means it's going to take weight out of the automotive, it's going to take weight out of the aircraft that you're flying around in. That means they're going to get better mileage per gallon. That's one of the things they look at. In terms of aluminum, there are, and we looked this up, I talked about this before, 4 smelters left in the United States Now, I went back a little farther this time. In 1980, there were 30 aluminum smelters. In 2020, there were 24 smelters. We are down to 4 today. With one potential smelter, I looked up the company. I couldn't find it. I found the name, but that's all I could find. It was very unusual. But those smelters basically are located in, first of all, Mount Holly, South Carolina, in Sebring plant. There's a Sebring plant in Kentucky. Now, when you look at that and you say South Carolina and Kentucky, you think about a number of things that they would have from an industrial standpoint. The biggest thing they may have, and you'd have to check this, is I got a feeling they're located in what's known as TVA, Tennessee Valley Authority. Tennessee Valley Authority, since Franklin Roosevelt, in his first term, started building coal plants to build electric generating systems in that whole area in the South because it was very, very poor. They've had the best electric rates in the country. 20 years ago, maybe 25 years ago, TVA switched to nuclear. So they now have nuclear plants in that Tennessee Valley Authority area. Now, the other the 2 plants are owned by Alcoa. One is the Warwick plant in Evansville, Indiana, and another one is a plant in Messina, New York. Messina, New York may be close to Niagara Falls, so they're going to have hydro. Evansville may be close to some of the Duke plants that they own in the state of Indiana. But in addition to that, they're on the Ohio River, which means that their transportation cost for bringing in the raw materials is going to be relatively low because they can do this by barge. This is one of the things our Economic Development Commission has got to start to look at. How can we get these plants in here? Who can we get in? Now, one of the things I thought about was, I always talked about, when I talked about this, getting a smelter in the old Kingsbury Industrial Park. I've given up on that one because I found out why we have so few smelters in the United States. Canada has used hydropower to man these smelters by. Very cheap and very environmentally safe. As a result of that, if we're going to get low rates for electricity to put people into these plants and to build these plants, we're going to also have to have low electric rates. Where do you get that from? Nuclear. I got a feeling we need to move this into the eastern part of LaPorte County. That's where I&M is located. I sometimes use the term AEP, American Electric Power, but Indiana and Michigan, which has a large nuclear facility in Bridgman, Michigan, would be the ideal cover to come under for an aluminum smelter. And we have AEP in southern LaPorte County. We also, if you notice, the battery plant that is now restarted up just outside of New Carlisle, that has the key NIPSCO gas, which is certainly very well done. They have a great situation there, and I&M Electric. You can't get it any better. The Amazon data center on Highway 20, located in the same situation. NIPSCO gas, I&M Electric. We got to start thinking about these things. Tony, I know you're familiar with that area over in the eastern part of LaPorte County.
Yeah, you go back to aluminum. When aluminum became available for manufacturing because it's strong and it's light. So when in my history research, aluminum really came on strong when we did the Niagara Falls. They had power they didn't know what to do with, so Canada very smartly went over there and they got a twofer. They got power and they got water. So of course they put their aluminum smelters up there, and they have been dominating the market since the day Niagara Falls power generation started. And you can look up history, that happens. But in LaPorte County, I still think Kingsbury Industrial Park is a very good idea because you're getting the water down the Travis Ditch, which is really not useful for drinking or using because it comes out of the city of LaPorte. It's clean, it's good water, but you're probably not going to take water out of it. They have plenty of water from their wells, but they also have surface water they could use for cooling. And you have, I think you have an electric utility down there that you could utilize, but you're right. The best scenario in Northeast County is NIPSCO Gas and I&M Electric, which is AEP, which just started Palisades up. So when Palisades gets running, the nuclear facility up in in Michigan, which is
So it's
twice
just
the
about-
size
just
of
a-
Cook,
Yeah, it's just north of.
just north of Cook. When they get that running, we're going to see electric plummet. I want to, my guess is 5 cents a kilowatt instead of 15 or 20 cents. And NIPSCO is worried because that really puts a hurt and a strain on their ability to supply electric, because you got INM, and in South County we have the co-op down in South County, and they do a wonderful job for very little price. So they really put NIPSCO to shame, both of those people, and NIPSCO is worried. But NIPSCO does a great job on gas. So I think there's a better availability, not much better, but a better availability in Kingsbury Industrial Park. I'm working on projects in Kingsbury Industrial Park. Things are springboarding out of there. Just this week I got a project on my desk and they called me today. We got to get on this. Can you be there next week? So things are happening in KIP.
You made reference to 15 cents a kilowatt. I did a little investigating. NIPSCO charges to the residential customers 17 cents per
Yeah,
kilowatt.
between 15 and 20, it kind of
Yeah.
varies. But if we get down to a 5 cents a kilowatt, that's a game changer in many ways, more than you can imagine, because yes, we'd like to pay 5 cents a kilowatt. We would start using, maybe we'd start using our hybrid cars, electric more useful, electric furnaces, electric dryers, electric ranges. But that also hurts NIPSCO, and that also hurts the people who have done their investment strategy at 15 to 20 cents a kilowatt, like solar. And those people and coal, those people get hurt really bad. So you've got to work your way through that, and it's going to take a little time.
I'm not opposed to a fair wage, but I believe the chairman of the board of NIPSCO is in excess of $7 million a year.
Well, he's going to have to earn it, and he is probably in a job any of us would not envy, because things are happening so fast right now. And he is going to have to find a way, which I think why they are, hopefully they're shutting down Michigan City, which I still never believe is going to happen in my lifetime, but that's a good strategic move to stop and get out of generation and go just into transmission, because power is going to come from so many areas that we know, from so many areas we don't know in the next 15, 20 years. It's going to be a paradigm shift in power, but transmission is probably always going to be there.
And the second largest utility in the state of Indiana is NIPSCO. In the statistic,
But in the nation, they're pretty small.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah. But if you just consolidate their efforts in the state of Indiana, and that's where competition lies. You've got utilities in southern Indiana that put out, in my mind, a cheaper product.
Well, you're looking at who? Duke, ComEd,
Yep.
AEP,
Yep.
and they are probably going to swallow up NIPSCO. And that's why I said you don't want to envy the CEO, because if they swallow up NIPSCO, guess who's the first one to go? It's not the guy on the transmission line, it's not the guy in the truck, it's the CEO.
Having said that, then we have to start looking at what kind of facilities, and this is going to be on the Economic Development Commission. They've got to start doing their homework, going through this, taking a look at all those problems, then trying to analyze it as to how do we solve those problems, and what kind of companies, and in terms of the kind of companies we want, how are they in terms of dealing with their employees, how are they in terms of the environment? We need to know those things. So one of the things that we have suggested on this program has been a sanitary line and a rain line when it pours down on the west side. Some of my sources tell me that that's going to be very difficult. So my next thought was, okay, if that's the case, maybe we should start doing soil borings over there. We need to find out what's underneath some of those lands that Pullman exercised for its paint shops and the other things. And if we can do some soil borings over there and get some grants to clean it up, we might make some indent.
Why do you guys always bait me into this,
Oh, we haven't given you a quarter.
I have those statistics. And I don't want to even start on the largest toxic dump site in the city of Michigan City. I don't want to even make any inferences to that, because we've got people residing within the confines of this toxic dump site, and we've got the sanitary district doing absolutely nothing. I believe EPA is the next step to inform them, because I will bring in the pollutants in a glass bottle, and I will show you what the residue is in the bottom of those cricks that I've been wanting to have cleaned out.
Rather than the bottle, I would suggest you get a bucket, but that's just.
I mean, I think you would be surprised that the pollutants in the old Pullman yards is probably smaller than you think. I think the biggest pollutant would probably the fill they used in the area and what the heavy metals are in that fill. Just like pine has a problem with, just like NIPSCO has a problem with when they put fly ash. You're going to find that it's the soil, not really 50-gallon drums of empty paint. So you'll find some of that, but you're not going to find that much of it. You're going to find a bigger problem because that whole area on the west side was swamp and lake. And we filled it in to make manufacturing because we did that everywhere in the war, and we were manufacturing coal, and we ramped up manufacturing. We're on the lake and the river and Trail Creek. So you're going to find that the soil is the big problem that's containing most of the pollutants.
The excavation of Strebel Pond was stopped because as they continued to dig, they ran into these pollutants, and they didn't want to expose any residents to that. The bottom of Strebel Pond, which is roughly only about a foot down below the water level, is black muck. Where did that come from?
I want to go back to Bob because he brings up a really good point about AEP, Duke, and ComEd. We need to find the big company that is looking 10, 20, 50 years down the road, not just the way they're manufacturing electricity and transmitting electricity and gas today. The company that's going to win this whole electric transmission and power energy system is the company that creates resiliency. I've said it many times, many different forms. You've got to create resiliency. Right now in Michigan City, we're taping on Friday. There are many lights out because of the storm yesterday, signals out all over the city. Schools out, right?
Trees
no
down.
Power,
Yeah.
because we haven't created resiliency. And the one thing I think that the company that's going to win this battle is the company that realizes we are making these battery packs, 10, 20, 30, 50 kilowatt battery packs. If every home was helped out to have a 10 or 20 kilowatt battery to hold power and run their home for a day or two or three or a week while the power systems go down, that helped you there. But if they also can store power in every home, there are, I think, 70,000 tax parcels in LaPorte County. If you had 30,000 batteries of storage, that would create resiliency, and that would also, because the biggest problem that we are seeing now and in the future in America and the world is our grid and our electric network being stable. Too much and too little destabilizes the grid and destroys our electronics. So these ability to have this resiliency in every home and every business to A, help you when the power goes out, and B, and more importantly, create a stable network transmission line that reduces the need and the requirement for the IURC, Indiana Utility Regulatory Commission.
Regulatory.
They have to have X amount of power available to service you, plus more. If we are storing power on our site, they could reduce that number, reduce our costs, increase our, so the company, the big three that gets on this mode and helps us have that in our homes, like Generac, but they're battery walls, and gets those to be safe, is the company that wins the battle nationwide.
You have solar power.
I have solar, and I have a 10 kilowatt battery in my basement.
And how many panels do you have?
I have 16 panels.
Do you find it profitable? Is there savings? And when you
80% of my electricity is taken care of. Last month,
80%?
80%. So last month, I had NIPSCO. I stored NIPSCO power on NIPSCO's grid because I got underneath the bar. I had, I think, 80 kilowatts that I sent to them that I stored, plus the 60 kilowatts I used. Because it's sunny. Today it's sunny. I'm pulling down 400, almost 5 kilowatts an hour during the sunny times. It's expensive. I mean, that system costs you $25,000, $30,000, and right now it's a trade-off. So if your electric bill, it was $200 a month, people are probably saying mine is $3 or $4 or $5.
$40, maybe
So if it's $200 a month, you're going to pay that in your loan or your house value instead of paying NIPSCO. but you get resiliency because you got solar panels and I got a battery power wall. Most people have a Generac gas power generator. Mine is a 10 kilowatt wall that can run me about 18 hours just off of it, and then the solar would recharge it during the day, so potentially I could run forever on myself.
So you incorporated with your financing of your house these solar panels?
The solar panel, no, yeah, it's a separate home equity loan. But
I-
it is a loan on my house with the solar panels and the power wall that
correct.
gives me resiliency. And I think 3 neighbors in my neighborhood have it, and the other neighbors, when the power goes off, we're on the same grid as this high school, so it goes off a lot. It's like nothing happened for me. My power wall kicks in, the sun comes back out, it charges my power wall, I'm out nothing.
Maybe that's a sign of the future.
I think everyone needs to build that resiliency in for themselves, and the company that does that is the company that wins.
Let me really change the subject a little bit, because I want to go into how do you get the kinds of jobs that are going to be available in these situations. And we really have to go back to training. Let me start with this. My wife is looking at a program. They had New Jersey high school students that were learning to weld. Every one of them, before they graduated high school, had a job available starting at $70,000 an hour. I mean, $70,000 a year. My wife said, oh, that can't be.
Minimum.
Minimum,
For a
yes.
welder.
For a welder. We have got to get the training in here, and we've got to find the people who can do the training so that these kids can come out and they're ready to go to work at a decent job. Because if we don't, you're going to have the same thing that's happening down at the Westville prison system. You're going to have people from all over the country coming in here to take up those jobs. And when I have a son that is an intern in their electrical program for the IBEW, and he's been down there working for the last week or two. Came home last night, worked all day, and then because the electricity was out in our condo, he went down to the pool building, took a shower in there, came back, and started to monitor his phone because he was on call to be able to be called in on a minute's notice, but he got lucky. They finally solved the problem and he didn't have to get called in. But these are the things that you're looking for, the kinds of training you're going to need. Now, Tony can add to that, and so can Dave. But I'm starting out with welders, electricians, plumbers, contract managers that can manage a construction site, woodworkers who can work with the wood not only in the house but also with the cabinets and this kind of thing. And I'm sure I'm missing some people like glazers and some others, but Tony, maybe you know a few more.
Yeah, I think you also, we harp on the trades, and they are a fantastic place for a younger generation to be. Now we have to realize that these manufacturers are coming to America. We have got to add on. Somebody's got to assemble these batteries. Somebody's got to assemble these chips and boards and put these together. They don't magically come together by themselves, and that is a skilled labor now. It's just not somebody. When I worked at Whirlpool and in college, I was assembling ice makers, and it was a pretty simple job, and a robot can do it. But somebody's got to assemble these high-tech uses that are coming for cars and batteries and every other manufacturing thing and robots that are coming. We need to also enjoy that sort of training and add that on to our trades, because those people are going to be far more valuable and far more worth it locally. And like Bob said, if we don't, they will come in from other places and have our jobs.
According to the Democrats, Bob, according to the Democrats.
Well, remember now, we got two Democrats here and one Republican. Don't be blaming me for this.
Sarcastic remarks occasionally come from the Republicans. But according to the Democrats and the members in Congress, President Trump has done nothing for the downtrodden workers who don't want to work. This is a unique...
The key is don't want to work.
They just don't want to work. This is a new opportunity for the Democratic Party to maybe take a new attitude and pursue the non-working public and provide them a worthwhile job and get them off of drugs. Maybe this fentanyl, lack of fentanyl on the streets, maybe this might entice them to get a job and take a new attitude and go to work.
Maybe the lack of getting some government money from the taxpayers, because I think we all came from the generation that you went to work and made money because you didn't have any.
That's right.
And there was no backstop, and you knew what happened. If you didn't go to work and make money, there was no one here giving you money.
And get off the dole.
Not happening.
Get off of the government handouts. I'm not opposed to the youth of the community, their free lunch program. I don't think we should turn our backs on that. But we've got capable individuals, males and females, who are, some of them are childless. They could pursue a vocation in something.
Yes.
But they prefer to sit home and play their video games and
Well, now, this is where, to me, the summer school has to come in. Unfortunately for us, I think, Ivy Tech is no longer in the remedial area. Purdue University got out of that with Purdue Northwest, with Purdue Calumet, even before, or Purdue Westville, even before it became Purdue Northwest. Someplace along the line, we're going to have some remedial classes in math and in reading. And maybe we got to start that in summer school for the children who are not reading up to and doing math at the grade level they're supposed to be in. Now, one of the studies that somebody did found out that if you put a child in kindergarten who can do math and read at the first grade level, they stay ahead of their class almost entirely through school. It was amazing. The other thing you're going to have to do, and talk about people who don't want to work, some of this, now it's certainly not all of it, but some of it has to do with how they were brought up. If they're taught that they could just sit around, don't have to work, they tend to follow that pattern, and it gets ingrained into them. Somehow, we've got to get that pattern taken out of their system. That's where we got to start doing these things in summer school. The kids that are not up to their grade level, we have to have them in there, and I think our system could start applying for grants. I saw that the federal government, through the Trump administration, has grants for some of these kids to go to summer school. Maybe our education system has got to find these, start applying for it, and that'll pay for some of the teachers.
And that's why I opened the show with the Michigan City Michigan City music program. If music is taught to these kids, these impressionable minds, way in advance of them going into middle school, they will learn how to relate the written note and visually take that written note to their instrument. They will learn. That's where the impressionable minds are. But this program, music at the elementary level, needs more than just 3 teachers.
But the problem you're looking at is they'll never get into that 300 group that you're talking about because they don't understand that they have to do those things in order to raise themselves up. They just look at what happened in their life. Some of them don't even have any parents. They're being handled by a second cousin or something like that. You're going to have to figure.
But you got to start someplace.
Well, I
this
agree,
is a
but-
unique opportunity to make
Well, that's
something
why
happen.
I like summer school, because that is a solid place to
And maybe
start.
have a music program in summer school
Yeah,
as well.
that's fine. Yeah, I don't have a problem with that.
You're building muscle memory. Our bodies
Correct.
work on muscle memory. We know everything we typically do all day. Our muscles have developed the memory to do those things. I think the hardest thing for all of us is to build that muscle memory and build up that work ethic. You have to have a lot of patience, because some of these, it's a different generation, and they're going to take a lot more patience than most of us have to help them start building up that ethic and that muscle memory to start going to work. And then the other thing is, I think you're going to see a dramatic change in the way manufacturing it does, because you grew up with it and I grew up with it. If you're talking about manufacturing, we're thinking we drive to a building and we sit at our station and we manufacture this thing for 8 hours, then we go home, or we do it with helper robots and we work and we go to the cafeteria for break and then we go home. That is going to change
Oh, yeah.
with the way transportation, because the big discussion in my world this week was Elon Musk knows that his Tesla vehicles are being hit hard because people are upset at him for various reasons. His vehicles can easily be switched to completely autonomous with a reprogram over the air. Investors are looking at the Teslas that are out there, knowing they could buy these for cheap, $15,000, $20,000, and then hourly rent them out autonomously to do tasks, whether that's bringing some things to somebody's house who can't get out, to assemble something, picking it up and bringing it back to the distribution facility. Those things are going to happen in the next 5 years where we don't go to a big manufacturing facility to sit in our work desk or cubicle and assemble something. We can do it in our home, and we could do 10, 20 a day. And I brought this up before, the loaves and the fishes. The groups of people can work together. They don't have to be under one roof. And it's going to change like in my life, we're never going to see this change like we've ever seen. It's amazing what's going to happen.
But those groups have to be trained. And
Yes.
first of all, they have to be trained in reading and math
Yep.
so that they can understand what their instructor is telling them and they can learn from that. If you can't read, if you can't do math, it's very difficult to pick up in an instruction period exactly what you're being told. You have to be able to do that first.
Read, and then you have
And in music, you got a quarter note, a 16th note, a full note. That's the basics of simple mathematics.
Yeah.
I mean, you can utilize the music concept to magnify other more important things, but find a way to wiggle in to these impressionable minds and show them what a quarter note is, and then you can associate that quarter note to maybe a quarter of an inch on a ruler and so on. I mean, one thing leads to another, leads to another.
It gets your brain-
Music is valuable. It is a valuable asset that we all should take advantage of.
It trains your brain.
Correct.
It's muscle. The brain is a muscle too that needs to be trained and has memory. And it's going to be difficult because this generation is different. We're going to need more patience than our parents gave us. Not much.
Oh, really?
We either did it or we didn't eat,
Yeah.
or it wasn't a very good situation when you got home and you didn't know what you're supposed to do.
Well, it was very simple. If I didn't go out and earn it and go to work, I didn't get it.
You didn't eat?
No, no, they would have fed me. They would have fed me, but that would have been it.
You wouldn't have got what you wanted to eat.
Right.
It
You're
would have
right.
been the lowest food on the totem pole.
Pancakes for supper did not satisfy me.
So I want to switch a little bit because the governor and the state of Indiana has a problem paying for roads. And in 2018, the legislative commission with Northwest Indiana Times, thank you very much. You can get I hate to say this, but you can get a subscription to Northwest Indiana Times. I think it's like, I don't know, $5 for 4 months or something, and then it's really expensive. But here's the trick. If you get a subscription to Northwest Indiana Times and you cancel after 3 months, then they'll give you a reduced rate and they'll email you and say, hey, we don't want you to leave, which is pretty good. So I don't know if News Dispatch or the Herald Dispatch does it either, but the Northwest Indiana Times picked up on this study and they had a whole article, which I pulled the study. You could pull it down from the state legislation. And they tell you potentially what tolling is going to do to our interstates. And I gave this to Bob when I walked in, and the first thing I saw about this chart. They give you a chart on how much you're going to pay for where you're going to drive. And if you think that a truck driver is going to pay $17 to go from Illinois to Michigan to 94, or they're going to pay $57 one way from Gary to Indianapolis, you are sorely mistaken. They are getting off of that road. And they are going to drive on 43, 421, 6, 8, 4, 20. They are going to drive our local state highways, and we are going to see problems like we can never imagine. That's the bad part of this tolling. And then they say, which when I sat down and I finally looked at this again, that this money we're going to get if we toll, and they did a study on how much expected revenue, up to 20% can be for administration and collection. So if I get $1 billion every year for roads, 200 million is going to administration. I guarantee you it's going to be more than 200 million. So what are we really getting? Because A, we're not going to get the $1 billion. The trucks, they're the biggest contributor to this money. Because our toll, a 2-axle, is like $3 from Illinois to Michigan. $10. You think somebody's going to pay $10 to drive from Gary to Indianapolis on 65? Nah, they're going to take 421 or 43, or they're going to take 31. They're going to get off 65, and they're going to be on roads that cannot handle that traffic. We know this. We uniquely know this in LaPorte County and Northern Indiana because we sold or leased the toll road, and they got off the toll road. We are spending hundreds of millions on 20. Because it's got so dangerous. Because we know they got off the toll road.
They call it, well, when I was a kid growing up, they call it Gore Road. I guess they're going back to that name now. The one thing that Tony hasn't thought about, and I'm sure you're going to have all the trucking companies doing this, is that time is money. When you get off those interstates,
Oh, yeah.
you're going to slow down significantly, which means that it's going to cost you a lot more money. But not only that, sometimes the efficiency at which your trucks operate, they're built for at least 55 to 60 miles an hour. You get down there 35, 40 miles an hour, then your efficiency on gas usage goes way down. So they're going to have to think about all this before they start pulling off those highways. Now, the other thing we can do, and I'm sure we will, we'll get a few state police out there, but you get into these county highways, and that county highway department really needs a lot of money. They're going to have their county police sitting there for everyone that comes along. 1 or 2 miles an hour over the speed limit, and the fine's going to be $300.
Or overweight.
Or overweight, or both. Now you're looking at $600. So the trucking companies are going to have to think this through, and they're going to have to analyze it pretty closely, or they're going to have some big problems. And the one that I did mention is accidents. You get off on some of these county highways or county roads, and you're going to have a lot more accidents than you ever thought about, just because they're that bad. But it definitely is a situation for these truckers to think about. And yes, the state of Indiana needs money for roads, but maybe this is one of the ways to raise it.
You mean, I thought there was a road leading from Indianapolis down to Louisville or to
There is
Kentucky.
65.
No.
Oh, I thought-
A new
new
road that
road.
was just built
No, you're looking at,
from here to here.
yeah, they're going to have to toll that too. Because they just made that to an interstate.
And what about Indianapolis to
Yeah, they
Fort
made
Wayne?
that to an interstate. I-69.
Yeah, I-60.
I-69 corridor. So that's extra money. The good thing, I thought, so not all bad in the report. The good thing about the report is, in order to make this tolling work, we have to have communication up and down the interstates, because you got to collect the tolls electronically while you drive under them. In places that are rural, they don't have the best communication and networking. They're going to put fiber optic in, and this project's going to cost some money to fiber optic the whole interstate. And I would hope that if we put fiber optic down all the interstates, all the adjacent communities would be able to enjoy use of the fiber optic for the internet.
Yeah, I would think so too. That's where you would.
For free.
Yeah.
I know they won't do that. They will charge us money. Because they have to make money, because it's expensive to install fiber optic up and down every interstate. Which that corridor should be used for fiber optic. It should be used for water lines. It should be used for sanitary sewers. It should be used for everything it can be used.
So when you look at the what offsets these tolls, if maybe not rail, and we have rail to Kingsbury Industrial Park, we've got rail going east and west throughout the state of Indiana. Maybe rail will magnify into something more profitable.
I'm not shy. I pitched rail to the authorities on every level. Why don't we put rail down the 94 corridor, down the 65 corridor? And let's get the rail out of our towns. This corridor, these interstate corridors, already have unobstructed bridges with no crossings. Could we please move the rail to the interstate corridors and get it out of town? It would be faster, safer, quicker, less expensive, less maintenance. I don't know why the railroad isn't pushing that like no tomorrow. All these crossings cost money. Maintenance is a headache. We don't like driving over them. They're dangerous. They cost us in time. Again, these corridors have been set up. Interstate, they are very wide. We need to use them for everything we can. I think that was a Bush administration thing, from Mexico to Canada with the I-69 and everything down the corridor. And that, no one wanted to do it. We all kind of, I guess, raised our noses to it. We thought that was a stupid idea. But that was the good thing about this report, that if we could put fiber optic down the corridor, maybe we get something out of it. But the revenue source they think they're going to get, they have a chart, the revenue source they're going to get, and I don't think you're going to see half of that. I think they need to first look at revenue sources that other states have. I think Tennessee and Kentucky, California, I think they charge between 3 and 5 cents per kilowatt for electric vehicles. I think that's fair. And we could increase our revenue that way temporarily.
So if this toll gets put into effect, and these truck drivers get off of the interstates and get on residential roads, who is going to pay to repair the roads if not us? who's going to be,
We're dependent on the county police to pass out enough tickets in order to be able to.
no, my
You
understanding.
got to hire more county police.
No.
You got to have more vehicles, more state police.
No, you
more
guys
vehicles.
are mistaken, because every ticket, in what I've heard, every ticket that is written by a local police officer, only a portion
Yes.
goes to the county that it is written in. All the rest of it goes down to Indianapolis.
Yeah.
Well, okay, they're gonna have to write a lot more tickets. You're not looking.
Proportionally, but this is a study. It's 2018. It's out there. You can read it. It's 40 pages. Thanks for Northwest Indiana Times for pulling that up. I forgot about it. The state paid for it. It's public information. I guarantee you this is what the governor's looking at when he's discussing tolling. But you're right. I-69 corridor is not in here. It needs to be in here. What I thought was so you looked at something that I looked at too. What I thought was interesting is, and I thought this is why all this tolling stopped, because 465 is not on here either.
Yeah.
And
That
I wonder-
encircles Marion
I
County.
wonder why 465 is not on here as potential tolling when it's probably got the highest number of vehicles per mile than any other road other than maybe the Borman. If you go to Indy and you drive around 465, can you see the amount of money that might be generated? But those people would not be happy in Indianapolis, so I don't think we're going to toll them. Really. And that was some of the discussion I remember years ago. They talk about, and us outside Indianapolis were complaining very loudly. Why aren't you looking at 465? Why? What makes them? We know what makes it, but why are you keeping hands off of them? Because they know the two things we just talked about. They don't want to pay the toll, and they don't want them on their city streets. And that's why 465 is there, and they don't want to push them on. Same thing with Northwest Indiana. I feel for them. Most of the traffic on the Borman locally is on and off, and they don't want to put them back on the local streets. They can't handle it.
And one way of minimizing truck traffic on the interstates is to have local industrial ancillary businesses surrounding bigger businesses throughout the state of Indiana, which then creates the jobs that, you're talking about.
We hope, but you got to get the companies in here first. And one that I would like to get in today, and I'll talk about it further in some other programs, Eli Lilly has already indicated that they are going to do a massive injection of funds into the state of Indiana and into the U.S. to build more facilities. We have a situation starting in, I think, St. Joe County and going all the way to the Ohio line, which deals with pharmaceuticals, which deals with bio situations like Biomet, Zimmer Holdings, and a number of other companies, Stryker. If you go to our hospital, you're going to find that a lot of the input in that hospital, as far as the beds, as far as the desks and that kind of thing, they're all Stryker. We need to get into the Eli Lilly situation, and one of the reasons I think it's come so heavily into eastern Indiana is the fact that they got I&M electric rates. That whole section is I&M, and as a result of that, which is AEP, AEP owns I&M. As a result of that, their ability to manufacture is probably significantly less than a number of other places throughout the country. And I think that's been one of the reasons that they have, over the last 40 years, I'll say, really been able to expand what they're doing in terms of the biomedical situation.
And if you look at what's happening across the state, especially with Eli Lilly, I don't know, but I can read the tea leaves. The chances of us or anybody taking Eli Lilly away from where Indianapolis wants them to go, Lebanon, Indiana, are slim to none. But that doesn't mean we're out of the negotiation. A good business person or a good redevelopment person who understands this would start the negotiation knowing that there's probably not going to get Eli Lilly because Lebanon and Indianapolis has got them shoehorned into Lebanon, and they're going to take the water from the Wabash and Lafayette. But at least you could ask for something else, knowing that you're not going to get, because they already got them locked in to somewhere else. Maybe you ask a good business person trades for something else, a different company, a different medical company. Maybe that's what we get. Say, okay, we'll concede that you're not going to change your mind. You've got them locked in come hell or high water, they're going to Lebanon. No matter if you have to take the water from the Wabash, that's already set. But we know we got another company, and we would like you to give us that company.
Well, if you're going to do that, I got the one that you should talk about, and that's Subaru. Subaru has a huge facility in Lebanon. They use a heck of a lot of that water, and there's not a lot of water left, and Subaru has indicated they would like to significantly expand. So as a result of that, if what you're saying is correct, then we ought to be looking at Subaru. Because if you don't have enough water in that area
Nope.
to do both.
We do.
We do.
We do.
And that's one of the things you got to be looking at. And plus, if we get our electric rates down, Indianapolis Power and Light is not the cheapest electrical source throughout the state of
Nope.
Indiana. So as a result of that, we might be a primary location for Eli Lilly. Now it's going to be not a major facility that's going to employ 1,000 people, but it could well employ 300 to 500. And with the benefits they have, that would be a positive input into Michigan City.
I go for the high return. And I look at a lot of things happening. I would go for Nissan. Nissan is on the ropes. They're looking to partner with Honda. They're all going bankrupt. They're getting out of their sedans and are going to SUVs, which means they are retooling and building new factories. We could build one of those right up here in LaPorte County. We have the resources, we have the water, we have the transportation. I would go for the high value return, which is somebody that's looking for the big jump. Or I would go to somebody like Honda or Toyota and take one of their new manufacturing plants.
Would we have to upgrade the grid in order to accommodate these factories?
I don't think so. I think our transmission lines, our high tension power line transmission lines can help us into, we'd have to upgrade a lot of the stuff in KIP, but I think those transmission lines can handle that from our high transmission to our power for our facilities. But I think we have the water, we have the space. I think they're hungry. They all want to make the move in the next 6 to 9 months. I hope we're on it, because there's not just car companies. Every person in every venture is trying to get onshore.
But you're talking about the demand of automotive, electrically speaking, AI, electrically speaking, and so on. Again, what my reading is that the grid isn't up to snuff. We need to improve the grid.
I think the high tension power line interconnect is. But the locals now.
Tony and I have a little bit of a difference on that one. I really don't want to see us go after somebody who's going to be going bankrupt in the next 5 years.
I don't think they're going to go bankrupt. I think they're playing possum.
I would rather see us go top of the line type situation where we go in for a Mercedes, which is going to be looking to locate in the United States.
Yeah.
And to bring stuff over from Germany. You got the Port of Indiana at Burns Harbor. They can bring it right over, and we can ship it right over to Germany. I would rather see us do something like that. I would also like to see us go after one of the major pharmaceuticals like Eli Lilly, but if we can't get them,
Go after their competitor.
yeah, there's Merck, there's Bristol-Myers Squibb. They're all in this, and they all are sound, and the population is aging. We are going to sell a lot of prescriptions and a lot of drugs to those that are in Tony's, in Dave's area. Me, I'll probably be in some kind of a hospital that nobody knows who I am. But anyway.
At the Port of Indiana, they are enhancing the inroads. They're widening from a 2-lane highway to a 4-lane highway. I saw that a couple weeks ago when I traveled to Crown Point. So there is development going on in the Port of Indiana. So somebody must know something.
I think you're going to see us shipping a lot of agricultural products because of, now this is being underplayed because of everything going on in the Middle East. But Trump is signing, and he won't sign unless he gets this, negotiations with, well, the British Empire, England, Scotland, and Wales, the British Kingdom, and he's also negotiating with the European Union on agricultural products. And I think you're going to see a lot of agricultural products get shipped out of Burns Harbor.
Agricultural products in the tractors and plows and those things are going to change this next operation to autonomous, which they're just started. And if you think about what happened with John Deere in the last year and a half, they moved a lot of their production to Mexico. I guarantee they're going to move back. Now, this is the opportunity. Trump's
already got his people fighting with them.
We could jump in, and instead of moving back to Illinois, move back to Indiana. A lot better. You're already going to move back and create something new. Move back here. We welcome you. It's cheaper, lower property tax value. Everything's better over here. Don't move back to Illinois. Come on over to Indiana. We do just as much farming as Illinois. But you got to intercept that.
Yeah.
Today I was talking to a realtor in Wasilla, Alaska, about some property up there, and he made reference to Wasilla is only located 35 miles south of Anchorage. And I draw a correlation between Wasilla and Anchorage, Alaska, and Chicago and Michigan City. Basically, as the crow flies, we're geographically positioned the same way. And he's talking about economic growth in Alaska.
Well, Alaska, because of the oil and the other metals.
And the mineral rights, right, in the minerals.
And the things Indiana are doing, I have 2 homes right now I'm working on, the people that are leaving Illinois. They're well off, they're older, not really old, but they're older, and they're done, they're leaving. And I welcome to Indiana. Come on down, our taxes are better quality of life, crime's lower. They're moving here. I'm personally working on 2 of them, and I welcome them here. And not just in Michigan City, this is LaPorte too, LaPorte County. They are coming here, and bring it on. This is a good place to live. And I hope we all enjoy that. Because summer's here, right? You started off, summer's here. Enjoy it. These are good times. The next 3-4 months are going to be packed full of fun.
Oh, yeah.
We only got 2 minutes left.
2 minutes going down.
Hopefully we get them the band on, because it's a great program. Thank you all the parents that do everything for sports and band members. We know how hard it is. Can't thank you enough.
Yeah.
You're taking my thunder. The Michigan City band program, all of their events have been canceled because of this inclement weather. But they were to appear on this program today. But in a foreseeable future, we're going to bring them back, and we're going to discuss the impact that they're having, the educational impact that they're having on the students here at Michigan City, with only 3 instructors. I mean, I believe that's fantastic. You know.
And just say thank you to Lake Michigan, because we get some high-powered winds, but you know what? They never twist. So as a result of that, yes, we lose power lines, we lose trees, we lose a number of other things, but we have so far have been lucky in that we have not had the tornado situation, or as you do out in the ocean, the hurricane situation.
We have been getting missed these last storms. Very thankful.
But even there, the winds don't twist when they come off the lake.
Again, in closing, I want to thank everybody for watching. Your input as to improvements or criticism of this program is greatly appreciated. Please contact Show's co-producers Bob Pollock, Dave Bila, or Tony Hendricks with your comments. You can email Bob at skrpollock@gmail.com, Dave at djbila1@hotmail.com, or Tony at emailagm@yahoo.com, or you may direct your ideas for any future shows to our one and only Knucklehead staff writer, Sarah Bellum. Showing of our program will be Saturday morning at 10 a.m. and Monday and Thursday evening at 7 p.m. on Channel 99, and numerous times throughout the week when when Andy has some dead time to fill. You may also watch prior programs on 99 Navigate News and Views, or Yahoo News and Views, Navigate News and Views, if you want to catch up on our escapades. I want to thank everybody for watching, and make it a good day.